If you come to south of India, especially in the state of Kerala, if you go around, you will see a lot of elephants. These big, majestic elephants with their babies, and they're all. And when you look at it closely, they are all tied by a rope to a small stake in the ground. Okay, and this chain which ties to the stake, it's actually not very strong. It's not strong enough that it can hold this mammoth elephant. The elephant can very easily pull it and break it without too much effort, but it never does it. It stays, the moment it has been tied on that stake, it stays that way. It stays and respects that chain. Why? The story is from the locals is that as a child, that elephant, the baby elephant is tied through the same chain, and at that age, the chain is strong enough to hold that elephant, baby elephant. The baby elephant tries to pull and break it. It realizes it can't. It accepts those chains as the one that will limit. The moment it is tied, it will limit its movement. As it grows up, it does not realize that now it's strong enough to break those chains. But it respects that chain and stays in its place. Amazing, isn't it? How our mind gets conditioned to believe that this is what I can't do any beyond this. This is the limit. What are the chains that hold us? Do we even know there are chains that holding us back, that's limiting us, that's stopping us from being this super successful person to just being average or good? What are those chains? What are your chains? Think about it. Some of the most common ones is, and you will agree, is say public speaking. Say getting on a stage and talking in front of people. Okay, so it's a little scary. So step one is to find what is our chain that's holding us back. For example, the other thing which I find common is especially with people who have studied in non-English medium education, and when they come into the corporate world, I see them being very hesitant in interacting with other people because they somehow feel that their English is not good enough and they might sort of be judged and they might embarrass themselves. Yeah, and it's very common, right? So you would have seen this thing among those. So the reality is that many of these guys are brilliant, but what have they done? That they have believed that imaginary chain that holds them back, lack of good English knowledge, and that's the sort of making them live a life which is not full. Or the other one which I've seen, and as I know one, in fact I know many persons, but I know this one who, when you talk and you say, okay, but then if you're having this problem, why don't you call this person and check what it was all about and things like that. So she would say, suppose I tell her to call a customer and find out more details, find out what is happening, why is this person upset or whatever. She will say, can you do a favor, can you call, I'm actually not in the mood to call today or something like that. I realize that that's not the truth. It's not laziness, it's not the mood, or it's just a fear of talking to strangers. And unless they recognize that chain, the problem is most of the time we don't know the chains that bind us. And what would happen to her? She would close the doors for all opportunities that need talking to strangers. Say for example sales or inside sales or telephonic sales. She might be brilliant otherwise in a private life, with family, with friends. She might be the spice of parties, but where she really needs to use that ability, she's limiting herself. Because fear, it's not maybe fear, but it's the reluctance to talk to strangers. Okay, that something is holding back. So number one, find what chains are holding you back. And this is to me the most difficult step of all, because there are a whole lot of things which will stop you from seeing it. It will be self-denial. No, I'm not like that. Okay, so be honest. First step, find the chains that hold you. Number two, do research. One thing from when I was growing up, that generation, to the generation now, the big difference is today you can get as much knowledge and information about any topic as much as a PhD guy would probably find. It's all over and it's accessible. All of us can access it. It doesn't cost us. Just go Google and you'll find tons of literature written by different people. It was not like that back then. So go and research on the topic that bothers you. For example, if you have identified that because you have studied from a non-English medium school and come to the corporate world now, that's a little making you not so confident. Then just go research, and it will, if you just find out how many people in the world speak English. I'm told by Mr. Google that it's less than 1.2 billion. How many people are there in the world? 7.5 billion. 1.2 billion people. So that there's a whole majority of people who don't speak English and they manage life very well. Is it so mandatory to speak the Oxford English to do business? No, not at all. In fact, if you look at the top 5-10 languages which are the most spoken, following closely on English is Mandarin. Okay, it's good to know. And then Hindi, Spanish, Portuguese. Okay, so whole lot of languages which, and it's good to study all of them. I'm not saying don't study, but I'm saying that if you can't speak fluent English, it doesn't matter. So research and understand, it will help you build your confidence. Public speaking, there are tons of literature, and we could do another edition on that, on how to make this very simple and worry free. What are the, say, 4-5 steps you can just keep in mind, and it just relaxes you. Yeah, and each of the topics you will find it's important to do research and know the truth, because like that elephant, if I was to advise that grown-up elephant, I would have asked it to also research and look at what is the strength of the chain. Okay, and what is your strength and how difficult it is to break it. Okay, so the first step is to research, to know the facts, that know that this chain is imaginary, it's just holding you back. It doesn't have any power to hold you. You can be unlimited. Yeah. The third step, and like everything, the third step is always about taking action. So taking action is, there is only one simple thing to do. Do the thing which you fear the most. Okay, so is it public speaking? Go do it. Go and volunteer and say, I will talk, I will present. Volunteer. I know it will scare you like hell. You won't sleep many days before this actual talk that you have to do. That's okay. You have done your research before that, so you know all the steps, how the tricks, how the tips on how to manage this. Content, of course, you are good. So content was never an issue. It's all about talking and in front of so many people. Okay, or about not knowing English. Research would help you. Go and talk. Push yourself to sit with people at lunch during lunchtime. People who speak good English, doesn't matter, and you start talking the way you speak English, and suddenly you will realize that nobody cares. As long as people understand each other, nobody cares how good your grammar is or anything. It doesn't matter. Like I said, most part of the world people don't speak good English, so it doesn't matter. But the key is to go act on your fears. Do the thing you fear the most. Just before jumping in, just take a few deep breaths. Deep breath in, leave it out, go in, do it. It will be difficult, but slowly, as you keep doing it, you will realize that chain had no strength, that you managed to break it. You have broken it. 100% it will happen. 110% it will happen. You just have to do it. Yeah. So to me, there are only 3 steps for you to just unleash yourself. Be aware of the chains that hold you. And to me, again, this is the most toughest part of this activity, and you probably can do it yourself, or you could speak to a coach or your friend or somebody senior you trust, but you need to get this one correct. Okay, because there could be denial. So first one, be aware of what are the chains that hold you. Number 2, research on the topic. Research will remove half of the fear or nervousness that you have, and it will also tell you what steps you should do. The third one is to go do what you fear the most. Just do it. It's okay. You might fail, you will make a big mess on the first attempt. Go volunteer and say, I will do it. Okay, in the long run, you just become super confident. Here's one last bonus tip. Remember, new chains are being created every day. While you vanquished one chain and broke it, you need to go through this cycle again and say, what new chains have I formed? Okay, what is now holding me back? Okay, so it's not a one-time activity. Keep going through this cycle, fix this big one which you identified, then go back and then start saying, what is stopping me from really exploring my potential? And you'll find some new chains have come up. Go back, research, break, go through this cycle again, ongoing. Just be unstoppable. Bye.